Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stone Zone, the place where I blabber about Dr. Stone. In this video, I will be reviewing the Dr. Stone manga from chapters 90 to 100. Now, the reason I didn't review the chapters individually was because I have such an infrequent upload schedule and I don't want to spend 10 weeks to review just a couple manga chapters. This video will contain spoilers for anime-only watchers. I will just mention that, even though it's kinda obvious. You can come back and watch this video once you've finished Season 3 of Dr. Stone. There are happy moments, ones that give you chills, and ones that are really heartwarming. I hope you enjoy this video, and let's get right into it. Also, did you know that the manga artist guy is 155 centimeters? He's shorter than me, and that's saying something. Starting off with chapter the 90th, where the beginning starts with Senku returning to land and reunites with everyone else. The next panel is very cute and shows that Senku is loved by everyone. This clearly shows why Senku is one of my favorite anime characters, because he can get along with just about anyone. Despite being really intelligent, he suits well with almost any kind of character. Also, Kohaku sure seems to be enjoying the parachute slide. Or wait, is that Kohaku? So a big thing I noticed was the fact that there was grilled fish desert, which as far as my knowledge goes, you can't really make a desert with fish. I'm vegetarian, so I wouldn't know, so let me know in the comments down below. Now, what I really love about this chapter is how they transition from trying to find oil to trying to find food because of Yusui's greed. This chapter was definitely filled with very funny and cool moments, but then contrasts to something really sad. When I read this panel, I was not really that sad because we didn't yet know the context. It was when Yusui explains about the food shortage that I start to break down. I didn't necessarily cry, but it was very shocking and sudden. This also answers Dr. Stone haters who try to find the tiniest of plot holes as to why there are only 40 people in the village, which is 3,700 years old. Anyway, this video is going to be way too long if I talk about every little detail in these 10 chapters, so let's just move on. Now, there's not too much happened in this one actually, but Taichu was definitely the start of this chapter. We get to know him much more, and it gets quite emotional. It is often the happiest and joyful people who have the saddest backstories, and just this one panel adds so much depth to our character. It shows that Taichu is not just a hyperactive, infinite stamina machine. Also, please fix this bread. My teeth hurt just looking at this blob of charcoal, and these guys enjoyed this piece of overcooked poop. Moving on. So the first thing that I wanted to mention with chapter 92 is the title. It foreshadows that this chapter is going to be revolving around baking, all from the way that the title is written. So, obviously, the main focus of this chapter is Yusui and Francois. There's a lot to this chapter, and desire equals justice is very suitable to Yusui's behavior. Yusui's greed makes it look like he's a bad person, but in reality, greed and desire is a wonderful and useful thing. Obviously, this counts to only a certain extent, because if your desires ends up hurting others, it can be a very dangerous thing. Curiosity is also a form of greed, which, as Senku states, is the reason of scientific development. I still didn't understand the desire equals justice thing though, because I'm slow in the head, but I think what they're trying to say is that desire is not a bad thing, and it should be justified. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, and with that, let's move on to the next chapter. So the first thing I want to say about this chapter is Kaseki do be drippin' though, and the second thing I want to say with this chapter is, did you know that Senku's camera brand is called Senkon? Yeah, you probably knew that actually. And the third thing I gotta say with this chapter is, okay, I'll stop. Coming back to Kaseki though, this man's biggest accomplishment before Senku's arrival was building a bridge. I don't know how many chapters later, he builds a car from scratch, just from the engine. This is some insane development, and I love it. So anyway, this chapter was absolutely beautiful. The camera is such an amazing addition, and it makes me want to think about how useful it would be if humanity had a camera all along. We discover things humans did in the past with so much effort, but if our ancestors just had a camera, we would have known everything about the human civilization in a snap. This camera is super essential going forward, and not just something to take selfies with. And again, Inagaki makes me like Yusui even more. He's not your normal selfish, greedy bitch who wants all the credit for himself, but wants to show that he is not the one who did everything alone. And finally, the star panel of this show. the Einstein pose. It gave me goosebumps and just made me really happy in general. The page before this, though, is a bit unfitting. I have no idea what this is, but it might just be some mistake. Moving on to chapter 94 though, which starts off with Senku and Yusui casually taking pictures of landscapes from the air in the stone world. There's not too much interesting things that happens in this chapter, but it wasn't bad. Nothing more, nothing less. There isn't much to talk about in this chapter, but I love how Inagaki derpifies even the most serious of characters. It was super refreshing to see Francois make the derp face, and that's probably my favorite part of this chapter. I'm super excited to see the color spread next chapter, because color Dr. Stone is probably one of my favorite things in the world. I have been tricked, backstabbed, and quite possibly bamboozled. When I read that there was going to be a color spread, I expected like half the chapter being colored. So anyway, one thing that I noticed is that Ryusui's scars are actually brown in color while everyone else's are black. Also, where are Francois and Nikki's scars? So anyway, this chapter started off with Suika being super cute and wholesome, but ended with something really creepy and ominous. Suika's friendship with the boar was really cute, wholesome, and funny. We also get a flashback to the first chapter and find out that Taichu actually believed it was a love potion. I thought that Taichu said that he wouldn't want the love potion even if it existed or not, which means that it wasn't clear whether he knew it existed or not. I assumed that Taichu knew stuff like love potions don't exist, but it turns out Taichu is dumber than I thought. Moving on to the Y-Man introduction. So yet again, Dr. Stone does a sudden change in atmosphere. It's all fun and games where Chrome can't hear Ruri's thoughts about him, and suddenly Uikyo's expression turns dark. The atmosphere becomes very serious, and we are greeted with a very creepy visual representation of our mysterious Y-Man. Obviously, our Y-Man doesn't look like that, and this is something that I really love about Dr. Stone. The visual representation that is done in this series is beautiful. For example, when Senku and the gang go to collect sulfuric acid, the woman shows an amazing representation about how sulfuric acid is. It looks very pretty, but can literally kill a human being even if you take a breath of it. This spices things up so much more, and it just looks so much better. Back to the chapter, this was so ominous and it gave me goosebumps. The text bubble looks like a torn piece of paper and looks really creepy. Boichi was able to illustrate a random guy repeating the word "why" into such a detailed and ominous vibe without the use of sound or music. Something like this requires a lot of skill, and it was done amazingly. Moving on to the 96th chapter of Dr. Stone though, it continues where it left off with our friends still on the boat. While our Y-Man seems like a really bad guy, Senku is just pure evil. You know what they say, to fight against evil, you should be evil too. Or something like that. No, don't search it up, just trust me that that saying exists. The situation was taken care of perfectly. If not for Senku's personality, who just brushes off something so unusual and sudden, everything would have gone downhill. The next big thing about this chapter is the radar. It also shows Kaseki's development as a craftsman. The first time, Kaseki had a lot of trouble making a vacuum. This time he makes it perfectly. I genuinely thought that he would make a TV, but then realized that can be a bit too hard even for Senku. There's not too much that happens in this chapter, so let's just move on. Chapter 97 focuses on our epic sorcerer Chrome, and I loved it. When Chrome was introduced, he felt really useless other than the fact that he had collected a lot of valuable minerals. He didn't seem like the greatest of characters, and just felt like a wannabe Senku. So that's why I really liked Chrome after the prison escape. And this chapter made me like him so much more. At first, Chrome just feels like a Walmart version of Senku and doesn't know much science. But sometimes, even the professionals can forget the basics and make mistakes. And this is the purpose of Chrome. When someone has reached the highest level of something, the basics can be really easily forgotten. Senku probably assumed that an iron deposit didn't exist and didn't care to try and find it, but Chrome's basic type of thinking led them to find the iron depot. Sometimes, problems can be fixed through the simplest of ideas. I love this chapter and just started to like Chrome a lot as well. So chapter 98 was one of those chapters where they make a lot of progress, but there isn't that much to discuss about. My favorite part of this chapter was when Senku was about to give up. It showed that Senku is not a perfect person who can literally do anything. His friends does the things that he can't do, which is something that I really like. This is, for example, present in shows like One Piece and Black Clover, which is one of the reasons I really like these shows. Also, finally something Kaseki can't build. Holy crap. Now let's talk about Yusui. He seems like your average I won't give up plot armor abuser, but actually solves the problems by thinking more creatively. Yusui and Senku are such an amazing team, and as Suika states, them working together puts me at ease. Moving on, chapter 99 starts with Minami declaring that she will take pictures of humanity's progress. What I really love about this chapter is the panels overlapping each other like pictures. It's a great way to show the pictures while storytelling as well. Also, I wonder which watermelon here is Suika. Now, I have a small task for you, and that is to find the photo which contains Kaseki. If you're too lazy to find it, I'll do it for you. He is shown over here, hammering something. Also, someone please tell me who this is, thank you. So after this, it gets quite emotional with Minami, and at first I was worried that Inagaki was foreshadowing something. Then I remembered that he is not the type to kill someone off, which even though is something I'm not a fan of, it's okay. The ship looks insanely cool with the trademark Senku boat design. I can't wait for this to get animated, and with that, let's move on to the final chapter review of this video. Starting off, I just want to make a guess as to when Season 3 will end, and I feel like Chapter 100 is the perfect time to end it. Obviously, shows like these want to bully anime-only watchers and stop exactly at a cliffhanger, so that's my guess. I would like to know your guesses as well, which you can do in the comments down below. This chapter kinda made me more interested in Ginro. He's a type of character that I dislike at the start for being such a wuss, but when that person actually fights, it's very cool and badass. Obviously, Ginro proved his worthiness many times before, but this time I just like him a bit more. An example of this type of character would be Usopp from One Piece. When these type of characters are about to run away, they remember all of their friends trusting them and actually fight without plot armor. I was going to be super pissed if Ginro didn't join, but then I was pretty sure he would, because that is the horrible luck of these type of characters. The ending of this chapter got me pretty fired up, and I kinda feel bad for anime-only watchers who have to wait another year for the next season. Also, I think there are going to be 2 parts of the same season, like Season 3 Part 1 and Season 3 Part 2, that's what I'm talking about. So that brings us to the end of the video, which I really hope you enjoyed. I'll be uploading last week's video today. I had some copyright issues which I didn't realize until recently, so I couldn't upload. Not that anyone cares though. Also, please like and subscribe, it would mean so much to me.